Saw 4 is a film that tries to stretch the Saw mythology to its breaking point, doubling down on the franchise's intricate timelines, moral quandaries, and increasingly convoluted narrative structure. While it shows ambition in expanding the story, it ultimately suffers from diminishing returns, as the series starts to collapse under the weight of its own lore. There are glimpses of the moral complexity that made the first and third film engaging, but Saw 4 feels like it's frequently straining to justify its existence. Despite some clever moments, the film ends up feeling like a transitional entry, more concerned with setting up future sequels than delivering a satisfying story on its own. The most striking issue with Saw 4 is how detached it feels from its central antagonist, Jigsaw. Although Tobin Bell's presence is still felt through flashbacks and recordings, the fact that Jigsaw is now dead robs the story of the philosophical depth that he brought to the earlier films. The introduction of Detective Hoffman as Jigsaw's new apprentice is underwhelming, as he lacks the gravitas and moral ambiguity that made Jigsaw such a compelling figure. Hoffman's motivations feel shallow and underdeveloped, making him a pale imitation of his predecessor. The traps in Saw 4 are as brutal and grotesque as ever, but they lack the emotional resonance or thematic weight that made earlier installments memorable. Except Saw 2. For instance, the scene involving the scalping machine is undeniably horrifying, but it feels gratuitous rather than integral to the story. The film also struggles to connect its traps to the larger themes of justice, guilt, and redemption. Instead, the traps often come across as random, existing more to showcase gruesome effects and challenge the audience with moral dilemmas. Visually, Saw 4 sticks to the franchise's grimy aesthetic, but by now the formula has grown stale. The rapid editing and washed-out colors feel more like a deliberate crutch than a stylistic choice. It's as though the filmmakers are trying to disguise the film's lack of fresh ideas. The pacing is another problem. Saw 4 is bogged down by the insistence on tying every loose thread back to the earlier films, resulting in a story that feels unnecessarily convoluted and sluggish, leading to an underwhelming payoff. The series is spinning its wheels, unsure of how to move forward, without losing what made the first and third film effective. The conclusion of Saw 4, offering a twist that recontextualizes the story and sets up future installments. However, even this moment feels like a cheap trick relying on the audience's knowledge of previous films, rather than earning the reveal through solid storytelling. It's clear that the filmmakers are more concerned with keeping the franchise alive than crafting a self-contained, satisfying narrative. In this sense, Saw 4 becomes more of a placeholder, necessary for the continuation of the series, but far from a standout entry. Ultimately, Saw 4 is a step down from its predecessors, unable to recapture tension, moral ambiguity, and psychological depth that made the first and third installments effective. Film caught in the trap of its own lore, trying to explain too much while losing the edge that made the series compelling in the first place. Fans of the franchise may find some enjoyment in the expanded mythology and familiar traps, but for those looking for a meaningful continuation of Jigsaw's legacy, Saw 4 proves that even the most intricate plot lines can collapse under their own weight. Alright, horror fans, that's a wrap. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, share it with anyone who loves horror, and stab that subscribe button so you don't miss any upcoming content. Drop a comment down below. I'd love to chat with you and hear about what you're watching. And remember, I take video requests, so let me know what you would like to see next. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you in the next one.